The slap echoed across Dust Creek like a gunshot, sharp enough to stop Cole Mackenzie in his tracks. The desert sun burned through the dusty window of Blackwood's general store, and Cole saw it happen clear as day. A man's hand struck a young woman across the face with the same ease a rancher swatted a fly. Her head jerked to the side, but she did not cry. She simply straightened her shoulders, held her chin high, and met cruelty with a silence that carried more dignity than most men ever earned. Cole's weathered fingers slid toward the handle of his Colt .45 before he even realized he was moving. 5 years of hunting dangerous men had taught him to mind his own business, but something about the girl's calm strength felt familiar in a way that twisted painfully in his chest. It reminded him of someone he had already failed, someone he could never save now. Their eyes met through the glass. Her dark gaze held pride, pain, and 3 long years of suffering buried deep beneath quiet courage. In that single moment, Cole understood that walking away was no longer an option. Whether he wanted it or not, his trail had just crossed hers, and nothing would ever be the same. Cole Mackenzie had not believed in second chances for a long time. At 42, his face carried the map of every hard mile since that terrible September night in Tombstone. 1 dead rustler, 1 long ride home, 1 house burned to the ground, Sarah and little Emma gone before he could even pull them from the ashes. Now he drifted from town to town, earning a living with fast hands and a reputation built on broken justice. Folks called him Fast Draw Mackenzie, a name that opened doors in the day and closed hearts at night. He had come to Dust Creek chasing a $200 bounty on a rustler named Joaquin Morales, but the sound of that slap pushed every thought of bounty hunting from his mind. Inside the store, Ka Whispering Wind crouched on the floor, picking up shards from a broken whiskey bottle. She moved the way someone moves when they have learned that even a small mistake can cost them blood. At 19, she carried her Apache heritage with quiet honor, though her years under Silas Blackwood had carved tired shadows beneath her eyes. Her lip was bleeding. Her hands trembled. Her spirit did not. Blackwood hovered over her like a storm cloud. "Clumsy half-breed," he growled. "That bottle cost me $2. $2 you'll pay off at 50 cents a week." Ka did not answer. She reached for another piece of glass, the turquoise necklace at her throat catching the sun. It was the last thing her mother had ever given her. Cole pushed the door open. The bell chimed, and Blackwood turned with a sneer that froze halfway across his face when he saw the man filling the doorway. Cole stood tall, calm, and dangerous, in the quiet way only experienced men could be. His gray eyes swept the room, taking in every detail. The raised hand, the girl's shaking fingers, the fear that hung in the air like dust. "Problem here, mister?" Cole asked. Blackwood scoffed. "Just teaching my workers some manners." Cole's eyes returned to Ka. She stared back, her face bruised but her spirit unbroken. He saw courage flickering beneath the pain, like an ember waiting for wind. That evening, Cole sat in the dusty Rose Saloon, nursing a whiskey that tasted like regret. The whole town knew what Blackwood did to the girl, yet no one dared interfere. Sheriff Dawkins was in Blackwood's pocket. The town council was too afraid to cross a man with deep money and deeper connections. It was Martha Williams, the widow who ran the boarding house, who finally approached him. She eased into the chair across from him with a soft sigh. "You're thinking about that girl," she said. "I know that look. My husband used to wear it when he was about to do something brave enough to get him killed." Cole's jaw tightened. "Seems like someone should do something. Silas Blackwood owns half this town," Martha warned, "and the sheriff. And anyone with a spine too soft to stand up straight." "Why has no one helped her?" Cole asked. Martha's eyes softened with shame. "Because she's Apache. Because she's poor. Because this town turns a blind eye when the person suffering doesn't look like them. But she's a good girl. Too good for the life she's been given." Cole lay awake that night, the thin boarding house mattress creaking beneath him. He could not forget the look in Ka's eyes. Pain, yes, but something else too. Hope. The kind he hadn't seen in years. Hope for a life better than being beaten behind dusty store windows. At dawn, he headed into the hills, searching for Joaquin Morales. A drunk cowhand had mentioned seeing the rustler camping near Blackwood's back property. Cole found Morales easily enough, but what he found behind the store owner's land chilled him deeper than the night wind. Blackwood wasn't just cruel. He was working with cattle thieves, hiding rustlers on his land and profiting from stolen herds. The man beating Ka was the same man feeding corruption through the veins of the whole town. Meanwhile, in the small room above the store, Ka tended her bruises alone. She touched her turquoise necklace and whispered a prayer her mother had taught her long ago. A prayer for strength, a prayer for freedom. Then she looked out the window and saw Cole Mackenzie walking toward town with the steady stride of a man who had finally made his choice. And whatever choice he had made was about to change both of their lives. High noon burned bright over Dust Creek when Cole Mackenzie stepped into Blackwood's store for the second time, but this time he did not come as a customer. He came with purpose. He came with a rustler tied over his horse. Proof that he had finished the job he came to town for, and he came ready to finish something else that had been building from the moment he saw Ka Whispering Wind take a beating she didn't deserve. Ka stood behind the counter, stocking shelves with careful, practiced movements. Her hands trembled, but her face stayed calm as she watched Cole walk in. She had seen men like Blackwood all her life. She had never seen a man like Cole. Cole nodded once, then looked at Blackwood. "I hear you've got a worker who owes you a debt," he said, his voice steady and cold. "What's it to you?" Blackwood snapped. "I'm buying her contract. Name your price." Ka froze. The entire store seemed to freeze with her. Blackwood puffed out his chest, trying to look bigger than he felt. "She ain't for sale." Cole took one slow step forward. "Everything's for sale. The question is whether you want cash or lead." People gathered outside, pressing to the windows for a better look. Dust Creek had a way of ignoring injustice, but it never ignored a good fight. $300, Blackwood said loudly, "and damages for disrupting my business." Cole pulled a folded paper from his vest. "Sheriff Dawkins told me last night that debt bondage was outlawed in this territory years ago, which means your contract isn't worth anything." Blackwood's face darkened. "You don't know who you're messing with, stranger." Cole Mackenzie. The name dropped into the room like a stone into a still pond. A few onlookers backed away from the window. Everyone in the territory knew that name. Before Blackwood could reach for his pistol, Cole already had his Colt pressed against the man's forehead. The room went silent except for Ka's quick breathing. "I wouldn't," Cole said. "I already sent word to the U.S. Marshal about your cattle operation." You make one wrong move, and they won't need a trial." Then Ka stepped forward. She moved with the smooth grace of wind over stone. She carried a thin-bladed Apache knife in her hand, the kind a woman kept hidden until she had no choice left. "I don't need anyone to buy my freedom," she said. "I was never his property." Blackwood stepped back, fear flickering in his eyes. "This ends now," Cole said. "The girl walks free and gets her wages for the last 3 years." 2 hours later, Dust Creek watched something it had never seen before. Ka Whispering Wind riding out of town on a gentle mare, and Silas Blackwood standing on his porch with anger boiling in his face while the sheriff pretended this was justice he had intended all along. Ka rode in silence beside Cole as the town disappeared behind them. The desert stretched wide ahead, open and endless. Still, she kept her guard up. She had known too many men who offered help with one hand and took something with the other. "You didn't have to do that," she said quietly. "Yes, I did." Cole answered. When she finally looked at him, she saw pain written across his face, old pain, heavy pain, pain that had carved him into the hard man he was. "Why?" she asked. 5 years ago," he said, "I had a wife and daughter, Sarah and Emma. I left them one night to chase a bounty. When I got back, the house was burned. They were gone. I told myself that some things can't be fixed. Some people can't be saved. Today, I decided to stop believing that." Something tightened in Ka's chest. No one had ever spoken to her with that kind of honesty. No one had ever looked at her with that kind of care. They camped under cottonwoods beside a cold mountain stream. Ka washed away the last dust of Blackwood's store from her skin. Cole built a fire, pretending not to watch her but failing each time she turned her head and caught his eye. She was beautiful in a way the frontier rarely allowed women to be. Strong, scarred, and unbroken. "What happens when we reach San Carlos?" she asked. "That's up to you," he said. "I'll see you home if that's where you want to be. If not, the territory is big enough for anyone willing to start over." "And you?" she asked. "Maybe I'll start over too," he said. "Depends if I find a reason." The fire crackled between them. The night wrapped around them like a blanket. Cole lay awake staring at the stars. Ka moved closer, her voice soft. "I used to dream of being held by someone who didn't see me as a burden." "You're not a burden," Cole said. "You're the first right thing I've found in 5 years." Ka rested against him as the fire burned low. For the first time in a long time, Cole felt something that wasn't grief. It wasn't anger. It was hope. Fragile, but alive. By morning, they reached the border of the San Carlos reservation. Jose Crowfeather, the young man Ka had grown up with, stood waiting, his eyes narrowed at the sight of Cole. "Did he buy you?" Jose asked sharply. "He freed me," Ka said. Jose's jaw tightened, but he said nothing more. That evening, Cole found himself in the council house facing tribal elders. Thomas Greywolf studied him with calm, steady eyes. "What do you want with our daughter?" the elder asked. Cole took a breath. "I want her to choose her own path, whether that path includes me or not." The room softened at his answer. The elder nodded. "You may stay 3 days. After that, you go. If Ka chooses you, she leaves with you. If not, you respect her choice. 3 days. 3 days to learn the truth." On the third morning, Cole found Ka by the stream, her feet in the cool water. She had woven turquoise beads into her hair, a sign she was considering a life here. "You've decided," Cole said.
"I've decided I need time," Kay replied. "I need to remember myself."
"I need to breathe without fear. I need to know who I am before I know who I can love." Cole nodded, though the words hurt more than a bullet. "I won't be someone's broken bird to heal," she said. "And I won't let you carry me like a second chance you didn't get before. Give me 1 year. If what we feel is real, it will still be there." Cole said nothing. He simply held her hand until she let go. He rode out alone at sunrise. Ka watched from the hill, her heart torn between the past she came from and the future she wanted. 6 months later, she received a letter from Cole. No promises, no pressure, just an invitation. He had bought a small ranch near Tucson. If she ever wanted to see it, she would be welcome. Ka folded the letter and placed it beside her mother's necklace. Spring wind brushed across her face. Somewhere deep inside, a choice began to take shape. Winter passed gently over the Arizona desert, leaving behind clear blue skies and warm days that made the land feel alive again. "Ka," whispering wind, spent that time relearning the pieces of herself that had been buried under 3 years of fear. She helped tribal women gather herbs in the hills. She taught children the old stories her mother once whispered to her. She walked the riverbanks at dawn, letting the water wash away memories she no longer needed to carry. But even as she healed, one truth stayed close to her heart. Cole Mackenzie had walked away without asking anything from her. He had given her freedom without strings. That kind of respect was rare in the world she had known. Each month, she placed his single letter back into her leather pouch with her most treasured belongings. She never opened it again, but she felt its weight every time she carried it. A reminder, a promise, a question she was not yet ready to answer. 1 year later, on a warm spring morning, Ka stood on the hill, overlooking the reservation. She closed her eyes as a soft breeze lifted the strands of her dark hair. The wind felt different today. It carried direction. It carried courage. She saddled her mare, gathered her few belongings, and whispered a quiet goodbye to the land that had shaped her. It was time. The ride to Tucson took days, but Ka felt lighter with each mile. The farther she rode, the more she remembered the man who had stood between her and danger without asking for anything in return. A man who had carried grief but still chose to protect someone else. A man who gave her the space she needed, even when it cost him. Just past sundown on the 6th day, she reached a small valley where the fading light painted the world in shades of gold and soft blue. Below her, nestled against the foothills, stood a modest ranch with a wooden corral and a house that looked new but worn in all the right places. Smoke curled from the chimney. Horses grazed lazily beside the fence line. Cole Mackenzie stepped out onto the porch at the sound of approaching hooves. For a moment, neither of them moved. Cole looked older, but not in the tired, hollow way she remembered. His shoulders were steadier. His eyes carried less weight. The grief was still there, but it had softened into something manageable, livable. Ka dismounted slowly. The moment her boots touched the earth, Cole stepped forward. Not fast, not desperate, just enough to show he was ready if she was. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said quietly. "I wasn't sure either," she replied. "But the wind changed, and I listened." He smiled, and it was a smile she had never seen from him before. Gentle, hopeful, real. Cole guided her inside the house. It was simple and warm, with a wide hearth and shelves he had built by hand. On one shelf sat a small wooden box. Inside were a pair of tiny shoes and a locket, a memory of what he had lost. Ka noticed it, but she did not speak. Some grief deserved silence. "What made you build all this?" she asked. Cole looked out the window toward the corral. "I wanted a place that felt worth staying in, a place someone like you could walk into without fear." "And what if I chose not to come?" she asked. "Then it would have still been a good place," he said, "just a quieter one." Ka felt the truth of his words settle softly inside her. This wasn't a man waiting to be saved by love. This was a man offering a life built from patience, not desperation. That evening they walked through the field behind the house, the sky glowing with the last light of day. A warm breeze carried the scent of sage and fresh earth. Cole walked beside her, close enough to feel, far enough to respect. "You changed my life," Ka said, "but I didn't come here because I felt I owed you anything. I came because I finally knew what I wanted." "And what is that?" Cole asked, his voice steady. "A life that I choose," she said. "A life with someone who sees me as equal. Someone who stands beside me, not in front of me or behind me." Cole's breath caught. You don't need to say anything," she whispered. "I didn't come for words. I came to see if the man I remembered was still here." He reached for her hand, slow and careful. She let him take it. In that moment, the past loosened its grip on both of them. They returned to the porch as stars began to appear. Cole lit a lantern, its warm glow casting soft light across Ka's face. She looked peaceful, strong, whole, a woman fully in control of her story. "Are you staying?" he asked. Ka touched the turquoise necklace at her throat, the same one that had once reminded her only of loss. Tonight it felt like a bridge between where she came from and where she was going. "Yes," she said, "if you'll have me." Cole stepped closer. "I've been hoping for that since the day I heard you cry." Ka smiled, her eyes soft with something she no longer feared. "I didn't cry that day," she said. "No," Cole answered, "but your heart did, and I heard it." Ka leaned into him, resting her forehead against his. The night air wrapped around them, the ranch, the desert, the stars, everything settled into a restless kind of peace. For the first time in years, neither ran from the future. They walked toward it together, and in the wild heart of the frontier, two broken lives became one whole story.